Okay, welcome everyone to Woo Woo Mama's podcast. This is Colleen.
Hello.
We have Gina Kolein, and with us we have our first guest, one of our first guests. We're very excited to have Andrea Tait, who is the owner of Thrive Wellness. She's a health and wellness coach, and I'm going to call her a motivational mama since this is the Woo Woo Mama's podcast. So welcome, everybody.
Write it down. Write it on the business card.
Motivational mama on the Woo Woo Mamas. Yeah. So
That's right. She is very motivational. If you want to get to know her and follow her content, because she makes amazing videos, she is on Instagram. So follow Thrive Wellness on Instagram.
yes.
So it's Andrea Tait _ Thrive Wellness.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
thank you.
Go and follow her.
So tell us about you, Andrea.
Well, I am 51 years old, and I have one daughter. She is a sophomore in college, and I'm actually hanging out in her bedroom right now. But I'm a physical therapist by trade. I work in a school district in the local area, and tennis coach. And I started doing motivational self-esteem, self-confidence things for young girls of 4th through 9th grade before my daughter was in middle school. And I thought, I really like doing this. How can I parent differently by, integrating all the things that I'm doing with other kids at school? And I was doing that before she was born. So that just kind of became what I really wanted to do, was to help to support teens and adolescents and parents too, to how to parent a little bit differently, because we were raised very differently than I'm sure both of you are raising your kids too. A little bit more emotionally based and conscious parenting. I would call it mindful parenting.
Yes.
So I spent a lot of time doing that, coaching parents and teens and working with groups like that.
That's wonderful. So does that feel like a pull from your soul? Like you just feel sort of connected to that age?
Yes, I do. I really do. I think it's, I never wanted to be a mom or work with kids, but God had other plans, obviously, for me. And I feel, I was like, I'm not working with kids, but I've done that for 25 years now. They're just so, joyful, and they're innocent, creative, and imaginative. And so just to connecting with children, like connecting with animals, you just have that, like, your spirit just kind of comes alive. So doing that with
and
my
you can
daughter,
see that in your videos. Like that comes across very clearly in your videos, and you can see that you enjoy every minute of it. So
yes,
thank you.
they're motivational, and they're also humorous too. You have this wonderful sort of balance between making your point and making it funny and jovial, but not too comedic, but getting the point across, with that joy and that high vibe. And I always smile when I watch it.
it's all, thank you for saying that. It's all parts of, as a parent, I'm not perfect. And I use a lot of depreciation, because I want people to know that no one is perfect at this. This is hard. You crash, you burn, you learn, you get up, and you help other people. It takes a village. Yeah. So it's kind of funny, the stuff that happens. So if we don't laugh and use humor in parenting, we're not going to make it, because half the stuff is like, you're like, what is happening? Is this really happening? Yeah. And then you ask everybody else, and then you have mom juice because you can't believe it happened.
Yeah.
But you got to just go with the flow and be a little bit more lighthearted. I think that really helps.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. So we are in the season, like I say, 'tis the season, because people are sending their kids away to college. Some of them for the first time, some of them sending their their first children, and then there's their last children. So they're home alone now. 2 parents, they started out with a full house, and then they're home alone. So what's your advice on, there's so many different facets there, sending someone off for the first time, and we've all done this, right? We all have I think we all have a little bit of input about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I like to think about, when I go through something, I want to help other people too, so they don't have to suffer as much. But just thinking about that, my situation's a little bit different than maybe a lot of people's. I was divorced when my daughter was 3, and it was just me and her little buddies, so she got all my time, and she was kind of like my project of how can I be the best mom to her. And so that might be a
That's a great project.
Yeah. but it's probably a lot different than other people because they have multiple kids or they didn't get divorced. And so I view it as a really special gift. But, you know, raising her and going through all of this and being so close was so difficult for me last year, letting her go. So I had to balance that with checking myself of this is about her now and be more excited for her than I'm sad for myself. I had to just keep the mindset shift of being more excited for her than sad for myself. And another part of that, I think a lot of us don't think about is, you know, we grieve or we don't want to grieve real, you know, and we have to like cover it up. Well, I'm in her room and I went right to her room when I got home and dropped her off. And I was like having the biggest pity party. I had to let it all out, let it out. And I'm not going to pretend the space doesn't exist. She's going to come home again, but I had to do that to get through it. And then I could breathe again, but it comes and goes in waves, but you can't ignore that. I think that's one of the biggest things. That was my big takeaway.
I agree. Absolutely. It's like releasing that, but maybe not dumping it on them.
Yes. You know? Oh, yes. I couldn't. Talking to her on the phone when she would call and she would have her own emotional issues. It's new and I'm not making any friends, but I am, and I'm stressed. I had to just not say anything. I miss you. Why are you answering my texts and my phone calls? You know, I just had to realize this is about her right now. And she's doing it purposefully. She's trying to figure out everything she's managing in this new life. So I had to just like put on my big girl pants and be like, all right, time to support and motivate. Now it's no more time to be sad. I can't be sad as much as I need to do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to shift, and that took a while. It takes a while. Everybody's different.
You have to settle into
okay.
a new
I think that's
norm.
the thing. You know, it's not the same when you've been parenting for so long.
Yeah.
So
we're all sort of navigating this new territory together, and we're feeling it differently. And like you said, the shift, we have to have some self-control, right? As parents, to not hover, you know, to not, you know, they're becoming young adults or getting ready to, you know, fly the nest, right? And so it's like, we don't have to check everything, you know, it's quite a balance. My youngest is leaving in what's today, the 11th, in 18 days.
No,
oh boy, soaking it up. You're soaking it all up.
I'm trying to, but he's like has a social life. So
what about his mother?
I know, but it's like this shift, right? That you talk about it's so real. And if we stay present, I think if we stay present, like what's happening now, oh, he wants to go for a walk, or, oh, she wants to have coffee with me, and that might be the only bit that you get, you know, during the day or even the week. Right. And so you have to sort of like balance that.
That's a huge one because we were so close before she went to college. I even coached her tennis. We were together and I worked at school where she went to school. We were together all day, like not all day, but she rode to work with me and rode home with me for 12 years. So that for me, I was like, I lost my coworker. I would see her in the hall at school, but she was like, why are you here? I go, I work here, you know, but she secretly loved it. But I do think, you know, Kolein, what you just said about the shifting and the phases and holding ourselves together is also a part of that is reconnecting with them in a different way. So the controlling parenting piece changes to almost a friendship parenting, which I really like nurturing right now. That's it. I know, Gina, your girls are a little bit older, so you understand that. Like now you have like a bestie a little bit, which is great.
Yeah, it's I always say I've always loved every stage of parenting. And I really love this one because I'm truly my kids' friends now and we can talk about pretty much everything. But I still remember the first the day that we dropped my son off. It was only at U of R. It was across town. But you know, I always say no matter how near or far they go to school, the fact that they're not in your house anymore, there's like a missing presence. And I came home that night and I set the table for 5. And it was only he was my 5th person in the house. and I looked at the things that my girl said, why did you set another plate? Chris isn't here. And of course I burst out crying. And, you know, but it's an adjustment. But for me, it was like the part that got me over the hump was knowing that he was making friends really easily, so happy, liked his
Yeah.
classes, like his adjustment. And my second child that went there, same thing. Like the adjustment was so easy and fluid. And when I saw how happy they were, that made me incredibly happy. And then that was all gone. So what's your advice to the parent that sends their child away and their child is not adjusting okay? And because we all know, not to be selfish, but it's harder on the parents than it is on the kids.
Your heart breaks. My daughter went through that last year. She was in October, she wanted to transfer. And I said, well, okay, let's discuss, like, the first couple of weeks. And I did go and visit her because she wanted me to. And the college said, do not let your kids come home right away because they won't leave. So I said, all right, I'm going to come and visit you. I'll bring you some stuff from home. And very different than when I grew up. It was like, oh, we'll see you in November. You deal with it.
Yeah.
But I had to go and check that because it was going to get crazy. So I went and I brought stuff for her and we had a really good conversation. We talked about all the things, like, what's the mindset about this? How can we view it in a positive way? And then we talk about manifesting too, is visualizing what do you want versus what you don't like. If you keep talking about what you don't have and what you don't like.
I love this. Yeah.
So we've been, I worked with her with a lot of that stuff since she was younger, just because I was going through my healing. And so she was interested. So she's journaling in Gabby Bernstein's book and the numbers thing. And now she's like looking at, I'm going to focus on what I want. And I said, that's going to open up the campus for you and to open up your life for you. So I'm trying to have these really calm conversations while she's crying in the hotel room, not wanting me to go. Like, you think they're all perfect? No, they still need their mommies a little bit. They're these moments, they are just so vulnerable. And it's like, it's okay. You're going to be okay. And then we go, what's the worst thing that can happen? Yeah. Are they going to put you in jail?
Right.
I say things like humorously to be like, oh, well, okay, maybe that's not that bad. But I said, you have to at least make it through the first semester. And once she kind of let go of that, how I think I need it to be, she was more open to accepting different ways of it being.
Yeah.
But
your advice was beautiful. I mean, not everybody. So, I mean, honestly, for parents who might be connecting with this tonight, I can guarantee there's at least one parent that sent their kids off that might need to hear this, because your way of coaching her through it is literally perfection, because how we, like, what we're allowing in and how we're allowing our minds to form it is everything.
Yeah. And she did a lot of, another really good thing I think that helped her a lot was her, spiritual connection. And she did a lot of meditations with Joe Dispenza, this like thinking outside.
Oh my God, I freaking love him. Kolein.
Like going through videos and I'm like,
that's all I've been talking about this last week with Kolein.
Good old Joe.
It's true though. It's true.
Find yourself in space.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a friend of ours, a mutual friend of mine and Kolein, like, she sent us both this, and I thought it was it's funny that she even sent it because of what we're talking about tonight. And I know she just sent her daughter off to college. It's her first child. But this is all about your mindset and how you're choosing to look at sending your kids off to. So the quote says, I heard someone say the other day, I'm not an empty nester. I'm a bird launcher. And I felt that.
I literally just wrote that on the top of my paper.
Of course you did, Andrea.
She sent that privately to us.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right?
Fly my babies, the world awaits. So, okay. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Crazy. Alignment is everything. Does everybody see how this world
alignment, the triangle, alignment,
right? And it's mind, body, and spirit. So it's not just the mind and body. It's not just the thinking. No. It's not just the physical act of moving or moving on or forward. Yeah. It's aligning the spiritual part as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing I do want to communicate to moms, and because it is, and I did talk to a lot of teacher friends at school, when we did this last year, and there's some people really struggling for months, crying at work,
Yep.
and my heart went out for them, and I was I'm the wellness coordinator at Victor. So I do a lot of like staff stuff. So I'm talking to her and I said, can we maybe reframe? I know you're so sad and it's terrible, but let's think about what is it opening up for you now, for you to do for you. You have dreams you've put aside. You've had healing that you want to do. Your husband needs you now. Like, that doesn't mean your
That's
daughter's never going to come
huge.
back,
Huge advice.
but you could say now, what have you been putting off that needs your attention for yourself? Because we're not just moms, we're us, and we are still those teenagers or those 22-year-olds still in here.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that I wanted to let her know that you can be sad all you want. I'm not trying to take away your sad, but if you add more joy, you'll be less sad.
Yes.
Yep.
How wonderful that you're there and here there's,
oh my God, they're so lucky.
Are going through.
Tired.
What?
I'm tired.
You're tired.
A lot.
Yeah, let's be honest. We're all freaking tired. Yeah.
All right. Oh my goodness.
But I mean, the emotions, when you have somebody, I mean, think about it. If somebody is crying and constantly sad, think about that emotion. We always talk. We're always talking in terms of energy. So get used to it. If you're going to tune in, everything's about energy. And when you're crying is an energy, and sadness is an energy. And you start creating that environment around you too. It's not going to make the workspace a great place either. And you're not going to get very far, right? Like
no,
you're not going to move forward. You're going to be very stuck in a place that, I don't know. I don't like being sad. I love feeling happy.
I know.
I'm always looking for that. I'm always looking for the happy route.
Yes. I think though crying can be a great release for
it is.
And the tears might be more than just the child going off to college.
Oh yes.
Oh, the tears might be fear of, holy crap, who am I now? What am I supposed to do now? And who's this guy that I live with? And I mean, like, it can be everything. I never wanted a dog or whatever, it's like all this stuff starts coming up and you're like, crap, I live in this house. I don't want to live in this house, and you're just, I don't know, like, let's be honest.
Right. That's so true, Colleen. That's why I love Colleen. Look at what she's extrapolating from what someone might be feeling. I'm sitting here saying, don't be sad, but there might be a lot to it.
Oh, no.
So, absolutely.
For sure. A lot of stuff comes up. It's not just a grief for that. It's grief for your own childhood. Grief your parents are getting older. Everything's changing. It's too much, right? But
we're getting older. Oh my God, I'm getting older.
You have your pity party, or I call it that, and I'm like, I don't even want to come to this party anymore, and I got to stop. But because I feel like if I project that out to my daughter when I talk to her on the phone, she gets worried about me, and then that makes her feel guilty for leaving, and I don't want that for her. I don't need to emotionally dump on her and be that needy parent. I'm not going to have her be my parent, right? So I have to check that and work through it. It's just, it comes up in waves though. I mean, I dropped her off this year and I went to Destin, Florida right away, Nashville. Now, that was great. Then I got home, I'm like, she's not here. So I texted her a face. I was like, something's wrong. You're not here. The comedy between the two of us. She's like, oh, I miss you too, Mom, and just that kind of stuff is helpful because you have connection, somehow connecting with your kid.
The first thing I did when my oldest moved out, he moved to New Mexico, and I said to my husband, I said, there's no way I'm going to be able to walk past that room. I'm going to be crying every single, like, I have to pass his room, like, get out of my room. And I was just like, and so I turned it into a joke, Andrea. I did. I literally said, I'm like, are you done packing? Because this is the guest bedroom. And even though I was forcing myself to do it, it ended up being this long, sort of drawn out joke. And now it's still, so like when he comes home to visit, he's like, can I stay in the guest bedroom? But what a transition humor did for me, right? Mm-hmm. That mourning process turned into, morning, like sunshine, like the optimism, Gina, that you were talking about,
Yeah. I know. Now we have to find that space.
I know, and it's easier to say now that I'm past it, but you know, and another thing that I think really helps, and it might seem small, but having pets, if you want them. We had cats and
Mm.
a golden doodle, and that was just like, I would cry and hug them, and they're just like looking at me, and but they're, you know, they're another thing I can hold and hug and baby and wrap in blankets.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And you're still a caregiver. So you're caring for them.
Yeah,
You know, you gotta
right.
get out.
Yeah. And I think that
Exactly.
that's the piece I think people are thinking about is what's my purpose now? My caregiving is over. But it
Right.
isn't. My daughter came home several times last year, and then she was home all summer, and I was caregiving it up,
Yeah.
caregiving it right up.
Yep.
I want a massage. Can we do this? Can we do that? Like I was
Uh,
surprised.
Yeah.
and isn't it fun? Like you have something to look forward to when they come home for a holiday or a
Oh
long
yeah.
weekend. It's like you just get something to get excited about. I know, again, you know, Rena's over at U of R. She's across town, but I hate this time of year when she leaves. I miss her because I do a lot with her.
Yep.
We're always together up late nights and talking, and even though we talk on the phone and stuff and text each other, it's not the same. You know, it's a different feeling. So now I just look forward to when I'm going to see her on a weekend. And but so I do feel, I certainly feel more for parents whose kids have gone really far away that don't have the luxury of coming home if
For
they
sure.
wanted to on a weekend. And so it's the little things that you start looking forward to that mean a lot. And I think you appreciate each other more too. Like
Yeah.
kids appreciate their parents, parents appreciate their kids more, and I think that's a beautiful thing too. When you can
Oh,
have
I
that.
agree. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
She said that to me this summer. Oh my gosh, you really take care of me a lot. I said, I do. Thank you.
Aw.
Thank you so much.
They
Yeah.
notice, they
Yeah, she
notice.
recognizes it.
Yeah, right. Because she's not there and she's been so used to you and used to everything that you do that it just feels like this natural flow, right? But now she
Yeah.
knows, now she appreciates because she sees it. There's
Yes.
space, right? There's space
Yeah,
to see it. Yeah,
for sure.
it's beautiful. I love the mom vibe tonight. I love the mom
I
energy because
know.
because we are really
Too.
conscious parents. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't know that everyone is, but I will say that wherever you are in your parenting journey, whoever is listening now, even as grandparents, I mean, at any point, you know, you can raise the bar. At any point, you know,
Mhm.
you can become conscious, you know, aware of what's
Yeah.
happening. You know, it's not over. You know, where whatever stage you're in your with your kids or with your grandchildren or whatever, you can level up at any point, really.
That's so true. And I just want to make another point because there's many times that I know that our kids, like all of our kids now, they're adults. You know, you become 18, you're an adult. And I do try to give my kids a lot of space so that they can grow, figure things out on their own. You know, I don't want to spoon feed them every little thing. I like them to figure things out. But without, just like everything else, there is such a balance. Like, please don't think that because your kids are 18 or 19, even 21, that they don't need parenting, that oh well, because I've heard this before, oh well, they're adults, like no, you still have to guide them. You're going to be their parent and you're going to be there for advice till
Right.
they're you know 50 years old, 60 years
Right.
old. I still talk to my mom about things.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm in my 50s. It's we need our parents and our parents need us.
Yep.
And it's never, don't say, oh, or don't give up and just let your kids do whatever they want because, well, they're adults. They can make their own decisions. Yeah, they can. But sometimes they do stupid things too.
Right.
And they need your advice. They still need advice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
That's a really good point. I mean, it's not the 1940s or even the 70s. My mom got married at 19. I can't even imagine that,
Right.
and then she had me when she was 20. That was the way it was. But,
yeah.
the comment about doing the stupid stuff, I said to her, I said, you're going to do stupid stuff and you're going to need me and you're going to need me to have your back. So let me
Yeah.
know. Let's just talk about all the stuff, right? You got to become their manager a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have
true.
great respect for you. I have some friends who are also single moms, and I just want to say kudos to you, Andrea, because doing it solo, even if you have a village around you, it's just you and your child at home. That is a labor of love that, Gina and I, we have our husbands, that is something that, when you don't have anyone to defer to, when you don't have anyone when they're fit, and you have no one to have a buffer. So you are really kind of in the throes of it, both ways, right? You have to be good cop, bad cop, and so forth, right?
Yes, for sure. Her father and I did not co-parent well. That was a journey too. That's NPD, but we'll get onto that another time. So it's how to co-parent with a toxic ex. But helping raising your daughter, but also mitigating all of that at the same time. Super challenging.
It's a lot. That's a lot.
Right. And so, overcompensating, I was probably a little bit more lenient in some ways. I'd say more, I think it's called authoritarian, not super child-centered, but more like you can have so much and then no, not just no all the time, but the teaching piece of it, like firm but fair and loving and kind, right?
Yeah.
So trying to do all of that was challenging, but I was, like I said, I was blessed with upstairs for sure. That's how I got a lot of my strength. I couldn't have done it without that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Sure. No, you did a phenomenal job, and you need to be commended for all of it, because it's
I
not
just
easy.
graduated, so that's wonderful.
Oh my gosh. So
also
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kolein.
So I wanted to ask you too, to talk about, your coaching business, like what you offer. I know you work also in the school district, but you also have a business too. So who are your clients? Who do you speak to? Who are those people?
Well, it's interesting because when I started this about a year ago, it was like, I'm just going to niche on just teens. But what happens, it kind of organically changes over time. The people that need your help or your support, you find them, and I think it's a lot of stressed out moms is, one of the major groups that I talk to and help. And, then there's the parent-child relationship. So the parent and the teen with a lot of conflict, and we work on interpersonal relationship skills and, getting over that conflict, conflict management type of things. And then just teenagers are, I would say 13 and up. Even young adults. I had somebody who was 25 the other day, just stress management skills, anxiety, mindset change, empowerment, that type of thing. So, it just kind of runs the gamut of the women. Not that I'm just trying to disclude men at all, but, I didn't raise a son. I have worked with boys too. And, but it's interesting, the dynamic. They don't like to talk as much necessarily, but you got to connect like with sports and other things like that. And so once you get in there, then you're in. So that's, so I really do love that age group, that like middle school. I don't know. I just find it really interesting. Middle school and high school.
Well, you kind of remind me of like the fun aunt in the family. So like,
I know.
Right? So like 13, 14, 15, that age, they want the fun aunt. They don't want mom. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Right. You don't have the mom vibe. Like when you start talking,
stress mom vibe. Yeah. And that's one of the big things too, I want parents to know, is that they can kind of let go of all of the, I would say, the conflict and the micromanaging. I think that's the biggest piece when parents call me and say, can you work with my daughter? She's having a really hard time. And then I talk a couple sessions and the daughter's like, well, it's really my mom. So it's a perception on, they make me feel stressed, or I'm not good enough for them. They're always yelling at me. My mother's always stressed and running around, so she doesn't have any time for me. Mm-hmm. And so we work on those things. But then I work with parents too, because they might not be communicating that. But I think it's once people start to communicate on an authentic level, that stuff can be weeded out and changed. And I think parents need a support and the, just to say, it's okay. You can let some stuff go. You can prioritize your relationship with your teenager. You don't have to be busy doing all these things all the time. This can come first. It's okay. That's all they want from you is time and attention.
I think it's sometimes really important to have a mediator, because
Yeah.
I think that sometimes kids do try to tell their parents, and the parents don't really want to hear it because I think because of guilt. Like they feel
Yeah.
guilty. They know that maybe they're, they could spend a little more time or give
Yeah.
them, a little more attention on this front, and they don't. Like, I think
Yeah.
I mean life is crazy, and I
Crazy.
say in this country because I feel like it's almost suffocating. There's never any downtime. Like it's
Yeah.
sometimes it's a sports driven, get your kid here, do that. We don't have time to eat together. There's so much go, 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 not enough downtime. And I think the parents feel it, so they need their alone time, and that alone time could be the kids' time. So
Mm-hmm.
there's like this whole dynamic that I think starts. So I think it's important to have like a middle person for to be like the liaison, saying, you know what, this is what she's expressing to me, so this is kind of what you need to work on. I think people will listen to someone other than their parent or their child.
Yeah, I
That
agree.
middle person,
Yeah. And it's also knowing how to talk to people that you're not giving them more shame and more guilt and blaming them. It's
Yes,
just,
absolutely.
we
Yeah,
don't know where until right now, you didn't know this information, right? We all go through life unconscious sometimes, so we just get on that treadmill. So
Yep.
it's just a little friendly, loving reminder of your kid really needs you and loves you and they want you.
yeah,
That's all a
yeah,
parent wants to hear,
Right.
really.
absolutely,
Also, like
absolutely.
you were saying with your daughter, instead of focusing on what she doesn't have, focus on what she wants. I mean, we can do that with the parent-child relationship
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
It's
Hmm.
like, okay, well, maybe mom wasn't quote perfect here, right? Because we'll
Yeah.
have mom guilt. But
Yeah.
let's focus on how I can change this, how I can do what do you need from me, son? What do you need from me,
Right.
daughter? Um, and leave that stuff behind. Like
Yeah.
don't drag it into the now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
For sure.
What other things do you do? Do you bring in like a spiritual component? Do you bring in meditation? Do you offer tools for people?
So yes, there's something a buzzword I would like to use because we use it at school is emotional dysregulation. And so
Hmm.
your sensory
I
your
haven't
sensory
heard that
overload.
one.
That's a good one. So, you
Yeah.
see a teenager that could be moody, fatigued, lashing out, snarky, and irritable, things like that. It could be a lot of different reasons. But when
Hmm.
because I see kids at school and then they're so busy and then they're home, all the stuff they go through, the dysregulation pieces, they're overwhelmed and they don't know how to self-soothe and they don't know, not everybody, but they don't know how to get out of that terrible feeling. So
Right.
I kind of weed out, are you angry? Are you mad? Are you have a sensory issue? What's going
Hmm.
on there? Like that emotional sensory piece. So I give them some strategies that they can self-soothe and get out of that. Meditation, some mindfulness things, creative arts that,
Uh,
working out, eating better,
Nice.
gut health, that kind of thing. And
yeah.
then I talk to
Awesome.
the parents about, I'm sorry, what was the question again? I just got on a tangent.
The tools, what other tools do you bring in the
Oh,
spiritual
yeah, I
tool?
like to do meditation a lot. And I say, we talk about our core or like our spiritual core, whoever that is for you, is it universe, God, or source? But you can hold the remote control for your feelings. Your power center is here. You have a safe place inside of you that you can tap into. You can draw strength from that. And even little kids understand this too.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
call that the sunshine inside. The light inside, you can tap into that. So
Wow.
going internal, just teaching about silence, contemplating, and just being present right now. And that's like the beginning of, oh, I've never been quiet before. Well, because now we have these wonderful things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
To add that to that's a whole nother topic, social
That's
media.
a whole other topic.
But
Yeah.
getting kids to put stuff away, journal, and start to feel who I am, what do I feel like inside? What is really going on?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that can help them get what they need from their parents and advocate for themselves. That makes them feel empowered.
Yeah.
So I work on all
Yep.
those types of things too, and self-love and self-worth for moms and kids, because moms need to feel that
That's
too.
awesome. Yep.
We
Yeah.
put a lot of our stuff on our kids not knowing sometimes when they're little, like looking in the mirror and saying, I'm so fat, or I'm not good enough, or why,
Right.
the
Hmm.
self-talk that we give, our kids pick up on that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
a lot
They
more
do hear
self-love
it.
we need.
Yep. Wow. That's huge.
They're
That's good stuff.
They're sponges, right? They're sponges.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. And what do you say to the parent who feels really defeated and who feels like they're an epic fail? If somebody's watching right now, what would you say to that?
I would say that they need to just forgive themselves, because if they heard this today, they didn't hear this, an hour ago. You only know what you know. You only do what you do with what you know. So I would say you got to let that go. And that's going to take time to get through that. Go up and hug your child and say, what can we do to make this better? Your relationship with me is so important. I love you. I know I've done X, Y, and Z that hasn't been great. I want to fix that right now. Can you forgive me? Our ability to say we're sorry to our kids cracks open those boundaries big time, because we're not perfect, but we demand respect if we don't give it to them. I think that's really wrong to say.
Yes,
so if we say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lash out at you, or I've been really stressed lately, I don't want to be like that anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's just laying it out there.
Yeah. And showing them that, you don't have to be perfect.
No one's perfect.
I'm your mom and I'm not.
Nobody is.
No, not one person.
Yeah. So being that example by apologizing is beautiful, because then you're owning it, right? You're owning your error, and we can move on.
Yeah. My daughter likes to remind me of several times when I didn't have the best mom moments, and I was like, thanks, I'm glad you're paying attention to that and reminding me.
Glad you're keeping track of that.
Like you just did.
You can't, I'm sorry, you cannot escape parenthood with at least, I'm saying at least one moment, and that
I mean, broken some Legos.
Anyone saying they only had one moment is lying too.
Many moments. An hour.
Many moments. Yeah.
Yeah, there were days, when I was in perimenopause, I felt like I was having a moment an hour.
It's something, and really, to be really raw, raising a child while you're going through divorce and custody is super stressful. So but you want to be in the moment with them. You don't want to bring all that stress in there. So I used to have a red mug. It looked like a coffee mug. And she was like, let's play My Little Ponies, but don't forget your coffee. That wasn't coffee in there. She's like, Mom, do that red mug, remember that? And I said, yeah, that made me more creative for the games.
Oh my gosh.
That's real. This is real.
Yes, there may have been something red in that red mug, right?
Yes.
For sure. Right. We're doing the best we can with what we have.
That's right.
That's true.
That's right.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's actually great advice. I think we, as parents, we can be really hard on ourselves. I think as human beings, we're just hard on ourselves in general. Yeah. And we do have to have that capacity to, like you said, forgive ourselves and love ourselves enough to forgive ourselves, right? Like it's kind of like a two-way street.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of time to go through healing and interior work, which both of you have helped me personally. I will say, these two women, amazing. You got me off a terrible hump after my father died. I mean, I couldn't even, I wasn't even functioning, really, to be honest, but it takes a village to help parents too. So I appreciate both of you tremendously.
Well, thanks for trusting us. And I will tell you, you went from 0 to 60 quickly. So we're proud of you.
It must have been that root chakra.
That was that root chakra.
For sure. It's always the root. It's always the root. Go to Gina if you need your root chakra balance. That's family.
That's root and balance.
That's the relationship.
Well, Colleen, don't missell yourself, because you gave me something and I was like, oh, now I can't stop hearing what I have to do. It's in there. It's in there. It's written. It's in there.
You were destined to meet us. We were destined to meet you.
We're destined to meet you too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Sorry about my dog. Like, this is our podcast. Like,
I don't even hear them.
Go with it. Oh, good. Because I can.
No, I can't.
If I leave them inside, they're gonna bark because they want to be with me. If I bring them out here, they're gonna bark at what they hear out here. So I can't win.
I know. It's all good.
So before we close, how can people reach out to you?
Yeah,
kids?
promote yourself. Come on, Andrea.
Yeah.
Don't hold back.
I mean, we're going to promote you, but how can
Yeah. Well, you can send me an email, and I'll give you my email right now. All lowercase, AndreaTait7 @gmail.com.
Okay.
Or you can message me on Facebook on Thrive Wellness or Andrea Tait, and Instagram. You can message me right there too.
Okay. Beautiful.
And then we can figure out a time to work together, see how I can help you and best support you in your parenting or your children or whatever you need. We can work through something.
And you also do public speaking. So do you do any speaking where we can invite people? Will you let us know when you're speaking somewhere? I mean,
yeah. Do you have anything coming up?
Right now I'm speaking just at my school district for staff right now, but I'm trying to find some different time and space at local yoga studio. So I will pump that out, and they do some just all types of speaking and things like that.
Okay, cool. Let us know when that happens so that
Thank
we
you.
can share.
Yeah. One other question before we let you go. Do you do Zoom sessions? Like if people don't live here, somebody's watching here,
yes.
They live in Florida and they're like, oh my God, I need this girl.
Yes.
Do you do Zoom sessions?
Absolutely do Zoom sessions. And some of the best ones I've had were girls in college, and they, their parents, because they just, they didn't want to go to a therapist on campus. They didn't have time to figure that out. So their mothers were local, and they said, well, my daughter goes to this school in Philly or wherever. Can you do some sessions with her? So we would do some sessions together. We'd go through guided meditation together. It was like right before exam time. And then another one was before, she was going through some roommate issues, and she really needed how to manage that. Her mom just couldn't, just didn't know, how to form that dynamic between her and her roommate. So we did some conflict management skills and things like that. But that was a lot of fun. I got to see inside the dorm, and all the kids are coming in and out.
That's wonderful.
It's my therapist. I'm like, not therapist.
That's wonderful to know. So for the audience listening,
yes,
if you know of anybody, or you have a student, your own child who is at school, Andrea is available to them. Yeah.
I'll even FaceTime. Some kids didn't want to Zoom. They wanted to FaceTime me.
Yeah.
I'll do that too. Whatever.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Good to know. Yeah, that's good to know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Andrea.
Such wonderful energy, Andrea. I love
it. Does. We're going to have to think of the next topic that we can talk with her about.
Yes, absolutely.
Whatever you like. There's a whole gamut of life.
Exactly.
Or just come over to the healing house and hang out with us. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate both of you.
Thanks for taking the time.
So much. We appreciate you, and the best of everything to Thrive Wellness. So
thank you so much.
Bye right now. This is Woo Mamas, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.